The SEC just quietly sorted every crypto on Earth into one of four boxes. And the box XRP appears to land in is the one that is not a security at all. Today, let me show you exactly where XRP fits in the SEC's new world, and why that matters far more than the green candle you saw on your screen. Because here's what actually happened. The chairman of the SEC, Paul Atkins, the head of the very same agency that spent years as the villain in the XRP story, just dropped a massive new rule and said America must and will lead as the crypto capital of the world. And the moment those words hit, the entire market went green. Bitcoin up, Ethereum up, and XRP jumping back up and over $1. So the question is simple. Was that just a one-day pump, or did the SEC just quietly change the entire game for XRP? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand it better than almost anyone. Quick note before we start. Nothing here is financial advice. I am not telling you to buy, sell, or hold anything. Every number is data or opinion, never a promise. Always do your own research and make your own decisions. Let me set the scene because the energy today was real. The SEC, under Chairman Paul Atkins, released a brand new proposal called Regulation Crypto Assets. And Atkins did not roll it out quietly. He called it, and I am quoting him directly, the most historic step yet to modernize federal securities regulations for crypto assets. And then he added, as the crypto capital of the world, the United States must and will lead. Now stop and think about who is saying that. This is the SEC. This is the same agency that for years was the single biggest source of fear in this entire market. The agency that took Ripple to court. And now the person running it is standing up and saying, America must lead in crypto. That is not a small shift. That is the ground moving under your feet. And the market felt it instantly. Across the board, crypto flashed green. Bitcoin climbed. Ethereum climbed. And XRP, which had been stuck fighting for the $1 level for weeks, jumped straight back up toward $1.10, a double-digit move on the week. So when people ask, did the SEC chairman's words actually move the market? The answer is right there on the chart. Yes, they did. But here's where I need you to slow down with me, because this is exactly where the hype crowd gets it wrong. A green candle is exciting, but a green candle is not the story. The story is what is actually inside that rule, and more importantly, the framework sitting behind it. Because that framework is what tells you how the SEC now sees XRP. So let me show you the four boxes. Here is the part almost nobody is explaining, and it is the most important thing in this entire video. Under Atkins, the SEC no longer treats crypto as one big scary blob where everything might be a security. Instead, he has laid out a framework that sorts crypto assets into four different categories. Box 1, digital commodities. Box 2, digital collectibles. Box 3, digital tools. And Box 4, tokenized securities. And here's the line that changes everything. Out of those four boxes, Atkins has said only one of them, the tokenized securities box, should actually be treated as a security under the SEC. Let that sink in for a second. For years, the old SEC acted like almost every crypto except Bitcoin might be a security. That is the exact cloud that hung over XRP for so long. And now the chairman of that same agency is saying, no, most of these are not securities at all. They are commodities, collectibles, or tools. So where does XRP fit? Look at what XRP actually is. It is the native asset of a payments and settlement network, used to move value across borders. That is not a tokenized stock. That is not a security wrapper. By the SEC's own new framework, an asset like XRP lines up with the digital commodity box, the box that is not a security. And a commodity, in the United States, falls under the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, a regulator with clear, known rules, not the enforcement machine XRP holders feared for years. Now I have to be honest with you because that is the whole point of this channel. The SEC did not put out a press release with XRP's name on it saying, case closed, it is a commodity. That is not how this works. But the direction of the framework and the language the chairman is using could not be pointing more clearly away from the old securities fight. But a framework is one thing. The actual rule is another. So let me show you what this new rule really does, and just as importantly, what it does not do. Let me break the rule itself down in plain English, fast. At its core, regulation crypto assets creates two clean lanes for crypto projects to raise money legally in the United States. A smaller lane, up to $5 million over 4 years, and a bigger lane, up to $75 million in a single year. And it removes the old headache of every single state having its own separate rules on top. And then there is the piece that really matters, the part Atkins credits to Commissioner Hester Peirce, who first proposed it back in 2020. It is called a safe harbor. In simple terms, a project can start out looking like a security while the team is still building, and then, once the network is truly finished and running on its own, the token can officially step out of security status. It graduates. It stops being treated as a security. Now think about how powerful that idea is as a concept. For years, the entire industry was stuck asking one impossible question. How do I raise money to build a network without being treated as a security forever? This rule is the SEC finally trying to answer that. But here's the honest part, and you will not hear this in most videos. This rule is about new projects raising money. It is an issuance rule. It does not touch exchanges. It does not touch custody. It does not change anything for tokens that already trade freely on the open market. So for a token like XRP that is already out there, already trading on exchanges all over the world, this specific rule does not flip a switch overnight. So let me put the real question to you. Do you believe the SEC now sees XRP as a commodity, not a security? Just answer yes or no in the comments. One word. I read every single one. And that question leads straight to the thing you actually came here for. What does all of this really mean for XRP? Let me give it to you straight, the good and the honest, because both matter. Here is the honest part first. Because XRP already trades freely, this new issuance rule is not a direct overnight catalyst for the token itself. Anyone telling you this rule alone sends XRP flying is selling you a story. That is not how this works. But now, here is why today genuinely matters, and it is bigger than one rule. It is about posture. It is about direction. The chairman of the SEC is now standing up in public, using words like the crypto capital of the world, and saying the agency will no longer be, in his words, an activist SEC weaponized against this asset class. He is building a framework where an asset like XRP sits in the commodity box, not the security box, and the market believed him enough to send XRP up double digits on the week. That is a complete reversal of the environment XRP lived in for years. And here is the most important line of the whole day, straight from Atkins himself. He said the SEC is not waiting for Congress, but he also made it clear that lasting, durable clarity still needs Congress to pass the market structure bill. In other words, even the chairman of the SEC is telling you the real prize for XRP is still the Clarity Act. This rule is the SEC building one lane. The market structure bill is the highway. So put it together. The regulator that once fought XRP is now building for it. The framework points to XRP as a commodity, and the market is voting with real money. For a project that spent years defined by a lawsuit, that is a stunning place to be standing. So where does that leave the road ahead, and the price everyone keeps asking about? Let me keep it honest all the way to the end, because that is what we do here. First, the reality check. This is a proposal, not a final rule. It now goes through a 60-day public comment window, and it can still change. Nothing here is signed and sealed, so do not treat today as a finished victory. Now the price. On the back of all this, XRP jumped up toward $1.10, reclaiming the dollar it had been fighting to hold. But let me be crystal clear about what that is. That is the market reacting to sentiment, not a promise of where XRP is going. XRP is still trading far below where it was a year ago. So I am not here to sell you a number, and you know I never will. Here is what I'm here to say. Zoom out. In a single week, you watch the president stand with crypto leaders in the White House, and you watch the SEC drop a framework that treats assets like XRP as commodities instead of securities. Two different branches of power moving in the same direction at the same time. Price, over the long run, tends to follow that kind of clarity. It does not guarantee anything, and the road will still have volatility, but the direction has flipped from fear to framework. A year ago, XRP holders were asking, will the SEC ever stop fighting us? Today, the SEC's own chairman is standing in front of the country saying, America must lead, and building the boxes to make it happen. That is the shift most people scrolling past the headlines are going to completely miss. That is the honest road ahead. Not a promise of a price, a foundation being poured right in front of us. So let me bring it all home. Today, the SEC did not just move the market green. It showed you how it now sees crypto, sorted into 4 boxes, with only one of them treated as a security. And an asset like XRP does not land in that box. The chairman who once led the agency that fought Ripple is now saying America must lead as the crypto capital of the world. And the market answered by sending XRP back over $1. It is a proposal, not a done deal. The real durable prize is still the market structure bill. But make no mistake about the direction. The regulator that once fought XRP is now building the road for it. That is not the story of a project being left behind. That is the story of a foundation being poured right in front of us. If this helped you understand what actually happened today, do me one quick favor. Tap that like button. It genuinely helps. Subscribe for the honest version of these stories, no hype and no fear. And drop your yes or no in the comments. Does the SEC now see XRP as a commodity? I want to hear it. This has been Crypto with BHW. We're early. The foundation is being poured, and I'll see you in the very next one.